Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Ranking the Songs. And today we are going to be ranking the top 10 songs from none other than Mötley Crüe. And who do I have with me? Mr. Kiebzak here, Chris Kiebzak.
How's it going,
Welcome, sir.
everybody?
How you doing?
How's it
Been a
going,
while.
Joe? Yeah, it's been a while after holiday blues. So yeah, here we are.
All right, well, we got a good one here today because we've got Mötley Crüe up here. And yeah, this band definitely has quite the history and sometimes not for the good, but not always all for the bad either.
Right.
But they've been around a long time. We're talking going back to the what was it, 1981-ish was when they
Yeah.
first came out with all their first stuff here, but and it took them a while to get established, but look how big they become nowadays playing stadiums. So they've definitely done a lot of work here. They've seen a lot of things. And oddly enough, up until the stadium tour ended, they actually had the original lineup still together, but that's obviously long gone now.
Right.
And with the departure of Mick Mars no longer in the band and John Five coming in, what was your take on all that whole fiasco?
Yeah, good question. I don't hate it. I thought Motley was starting to get very stale. The last two times that I've seen them were on the farewell tour with Alice Cooper, so already they were going to have to do something crazy for me to impress me. And right before that, Alice opened for Maiden, and Maiden still blew Alice out of the water, which is very hard to do. Motley proved to me that their career was at its slowing death point when I seen those shows, especially the second show. Well, let me say this is they totally oversaturated the market many times since that reunion in what, '06. So many failed reunions. Then they finally had a good one that lasted a while, toured with a lot of cool co-headlining bills. They were really good opening for Kiss. After that, then it started getting weird. It was just paint by numbers, totally oversaturating, playing the same A, B, and C markets every single year. And they expect some kind of difference. Those farewell shows, I'm sure you were at both of them. I seen the Darien Lake show in July or August that summer. And then in October or November, they played the arena. Same lineup, same set list pretty much. Alice Cooper and Motley. Kiss did the same thing. Why would you do that and expect those shows? We bought 300 level seats because I've
Money.
seen Alice. I was like, well, we just seen this. I've seen Alice so many times. Motley's going to disappoint. Might as well buy 300 level seats just to be there. Seeing Alice in an arena, awesome. I'm not spending $500 to see it. So we get 300 level seats. We go there. We get moved to the 100 section, like five, $600 tickets because it sold so bad. So
Yeah.
Motley did it to themselves. I think bringing in John, I'm a big John Five guy. I'm a guitar player since I was a kid. I'm in a band. John Five isn't a huge influence to me. His playing is much different than what I'm into. I'd go see him live but his music isn't something I'll sit down and listen to. But to me, he's the fresh needed thing if that band's going to stay a band. Because honestly, they're the only band out of all these farewell bullshit, Kiss, the Eagles, all this were given up and then they're still on the road for 30 years. It Motley had this whole contract thing with live. We don't have to revisit that, but like, why do that? Why and then come back a measly what 5, 6 years later? And then so yeah, that's why I think people are like, fuck that. I want nothing to do with John Five with Motley. I think it's pretty cool seeing him up there smiling in the videos and a guy who really grew up with that. That's like him being in Kiss, and I would take it. I understand why he's taking this gig. If I got offered to go play with Motley Crue tomorrow, you better believe I'm leaving my family and my life and I'm going to play with Motley Crue, whether people like it or not. So he did what was good for him, and I would definitely go and see that. Do I think that they sound much better without Mick and with John? Absolutely not. Do I think all the backing tracks disappeared? No, I don't. So Motley's still Motley, but the John Five thing, I think he's really given the shit end of the stick with him being in that band because any one of us musicians who's watching or talking right now would take that gig. And I said the same thing about the Tommy Thayer and Eric Singer thing. anybody's going to take it. I can bitch up and down, but if I get a call to be a guitar player in Motley Crue, I'm going. So it's cool that John Five's doing that, and it is nice to see someone up there being able to walk circles around these guys and really be the show. I love that. I think it's good for him.
All right. Having said that, let's uh let's
I didn't
dig right
expect me to
in.
have so much info on that, but yeah,
Well, that's what we wanted. I asked for it. I got it.
yes, you did. It's
All right,
true.
so we're going to do our honorable mentions first, like we've been doing lately. That seems to be going over quite well. We're going to start off giving our three honorable mentions, and then we'll give you our top 10. We'll do them in twos after we get past the honorable mentions, like normal. Let's start off with your three honorable mentions.
Okay, cool. So this real quick, this one was sort of hard, this list, because unlike a lot of the bands, especially the ones that we've done, Fire, and a lot of the hair bands, especially because they were trying to change direction so much. Motley, besides the albums I don't like, which those albums are not represented on this list, um, those albums fine. But every other album that I love from theirs or even like from theirs has great songs. And it was hard to go through and pick out. So my list is sort of all over the place. And I really wasn't thinking about hits and this and that. I was
Mhm.
just thinking about when I re-listen to these songs, they remind me of being a kid and why I loved them in the first place. So you want me to give you all three of my runner-ups right now
Yeah.
then? All right. So from Shout, 10 Seconds to Love. Love that song. Easily could have been in my top 10, but with listening to the rest of them, that's where that one falls. Think that should be played to death by Motley, which is not. Same old situation off Feel Good. I know it's overplayed into the ground, but I still get goosebumps when I see it live or watching a full live concert from them and hear it. So, and then this one I definitely thought would be high on my top 10, but it's right there at number 11, is Too Young to Fall in Love off Shout. Always loved that
Wow.
song, but when I re-listened, way more boring than I remember it ever being. So, and I thought it was weird because I haven't really revisited that song in many years. It was always one of my favorites from Motley, so I made sure that was at top of the runner-ups because I really do enjoy that song. Really cool drum intro. So yeah, that's my three.
All right. Well, for my three, I've got some that you probably wouldn't have ever expected. Especially this first one here, because it goes back to New Tattoo.
Oh wow.
And we're going to dig out Hollywood Ending.
Mm.
Great ballad that I've always liked. They actually played the song at the end of that tour after they got left, as they were leaving the stage. That song was what was playing in the background over the speakers when they were saying their goodbyes to the crowd following their encore. So at least they did something with that, which was cool. Kind of like what Whitesnake does with "We Wish You Well" at the end of their concerts. They play over the speaker. So Motley Crue took a page out of their book in that way by doing it that way, but they never really touched the song ever again. Unfortunately, I just really like. I think Vince sounds great on it, considering how he sounds usually at that point. But I thought it was a great song to put on that album because I felt no Tommy Lee, but it definitely to me it stands out as one of my favorites. So I got that at 13. Number 12, I've got the short but sweet Bastard from Shout at the Devil, baby. Just a great fast song that just kicks ass from beginning to end, and it gets his point right across there. Surprised they haven't played that one because I thought Nicky enjoyed that song. I always thought that he liked that one, but for some reason I figured it. Well, yeah, they play this one on the farewell tour, pull out a deep lost classic, but they never did. So that's what I got at 12, and then the last one, yeah, kind of a I don't know what people feel about this one. It's a power ballad. It comes from the old classic Girls, 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 and it's none other than You're All I Need, which actually
Mm.
made the charts at number 83. And this power ballad was actually praised by John Bon Jovi as the best crew ballad ever written at that point in time. Surprisingly enough, when I heard that. So, but I
Right.
love the song. It's good. Just not quite enough to crack into the top 10, but I wanted to give it some recognition. So there we got it at number 11.
Very cool.
All right, so go ahead and let's dig into the top 10. What do you got for your 10 and 9 there?
All right. So 10 and 9. For number 10, I have one that pretty much started it all off of the self-titled Livewire. Again, another one I thought would be higher on the list, but these other I obviously enjoy more. But Livewire, that guitar riff is just I feel Livewire really separates the instruments. Like you really can focus on any instrument, on any song on the self-titled record pretty much, but Livewire specifically, you got the whole drum thing with the silence and the drum builds and the all the different parts of the instruments. The guitar, you have that crazy that bleeding slinky riff in the beginning that just resonates so heavy. And I think it's one of those songs that screams Motley Crue. Like you put it on, and to me, that's their style.
Hmm.
Um, Love Livewire, obviously represented live in their sets a lot of the time. Still held up as one of their biggest, I think. I still hear tribute bands play it and cover bands play it, and when I'm out and about at festivals or shows or outside stuff. So very cool song and very awesome recognition it gets when it's played live or talked about. So Livewire is my number 10 off the debut. Number 9 for me is there's a record. This is the only song represented off the record, but on my list. But Saints of Los Angeles, I thought was very much overlooked. I thought it was a really good comeback of sort records. I liked the title track. I liked a lot of songs on it, but the song that stood out the most to me, even from when I had a leaked version weeks before it came out, was Going Out Swinging, the last song on the record. I thought that should have been played on the farewell tour. I thought that that song should have been played on the year it came out. The year that song "Going Out Swinging" is very gritty, old school feel Motley song, and with different production, it could have sounded like it came off the first 4 or 5 records. So number 9 for me, definitely very strong album, Saints of Los Angeles. And when I re-listened, I'm surprised there's not, like I said though, they have so many good tracks that it's hard to say, well, these songs are so good, but on that record, I wish I could put more from that on there. But this one is one that definitely deserves to be in the list, Going Out Swinging from Saints of Los Angeles.
Yeah, too bad they didn't take their own advice on that song title on the
Yeah, right.
farewell tour, you know. They didn't
Yeah, I
definitely I
mean,
thought they went out with a whimper on that farewell tour.
oh, they did.
I thought they
They
missed the
did.
mark on the set list. I thought they missed the mark on so many songs that should have been played that weren't. I just, your farewell tour, you should be playing some rarities, some gems, and some songs that you maybe haven't played in a long, long time. You shouldn't be playing the same songs that you were playing the previous 4 tours. I thought that was just ridiculous.
And 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 I think them bring and again it goes back to Alice, but if they brought out Pearl Jam, it'd be the same thing. Bringing someone that strong to open really made them look weak
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and dry and especially the second time around because
Yeah.
Alice was the same and Motley looked like they were more tired than they were the first time. So, but yeah.
All right. Well,
But all right, go ahead. You're
hopefully
10 and 9.
Nicky's not watching because he's not going to like what we have to say. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I'd say it to his face though. That's the
Yeah. Oh
difference.
yeah. Oh yeah. Me too. All
Yeah, I
right.
know you
So
would.
number 10 for me. I'm really pulling one out here, and probably everybody that recorded this album probably hates this album. But I had to put a song on here, and this is the one to me that's always stood out. Interestingly enough, it's Flush off of Generation Swine. And I remember I was interviewing John Robbie about this song because he has a writing credit on here. So it was interesting to see that. And so this song was written by Korabi, obviously Nikki Sixx, and Tommy Lee is the who gets the credit there for that one. And the lyrics were all written by Nikki. Um, But what I felt that was kind of unique about it was John Corabi was out of the band when Generation Swine came out. So I asked him about it. Hey, how'd you come about getting that writing credit on there? Here's what his response was. He goes, that's what's funny. I can't even really give you that much information about it, he said. Initially, when I was in the band, we were doing the demos or actual recordings. That song was called Kiss the Sky. The way they were recording, they were putting together the songs and trying different things with computers and loops and editing. Basically, I was surprised as everyone else that they took that song and it wasn't even close to the same song and they gave me a writing credit on it. I don't really have a lot of information about it. but Flush was basically what they came up with after I left the band. I guess because he's credited on the music, it must be something to do with the riff or something.
So he
'Cause
sounded as surprised as you did. Maybe not at the same time, but when that album came out, he was shocked.
yeah, but I just love the beginning of it, the guitar, that tone. Maybe he has something to do with it. I don't know. But that's what I would guess because he did play on all those demos that he did record after. This was all from. He did start a second record after, and this is something a lot of people may not know. He did start recording a second record with Mötley Crüe, but obviously there was a lot of dysfunctional, and then they ended up getting Vince back, and obviously Karabi left, and that was pretty much the end of it. But they did do a lot of demos with him. I would really love to hear the actual demos that were recorded with him. It'd be very interesting to listen
Right.
to those, but I haven't seen anything pop up with that. So, but that's what we got for Flush. Just a great song, number 10. Number 9, I got a song you mentioned already.
Oh,
And I get the same impression of it, even though you hear it over and over, even though it cracked the top 100 at number 78. It was the fifth single released from none other than Dr. Feelgood. We are talking same old situation. I don't know what it is, but that song live just goes over very good. I mean, if you listen to the song and just heard it on the radio constantly, yeah, maybe it would get a little bit stale over time. But for some reason, live, even with their live issues with the backing tracks and this and that and everything else. It still always seems to go over really good for me in the live setting, and that's why I got it at number 9.
cool. All right. 8 and 7 for me. Is that where
All
we're at?
right,
Yep.
yeah.
All right. So number 8 goes back to the Shout at the Devil record. Another one, sort of like what you were just saying. I mean, yeah, you hear this song a lot. Maybe not so much anymore, but at least growing up, it was everywhere and they always played it. But Looks the Kill, I think it just a great feel to the song, gets everybody pumped up. I love Vince's vocals. I mean, Shout in general is represented a decent amount on this list, and I love that record. I think it's probably their strongest, at least in the top two or three. And Looks to Kill is one of those songs that you just never shut off if it comes on the radio. Number 7 for me, it's sort of the same, except it doesn't get as much recognition anymore as I'd like it to. But Too Fast for Love off the first self-titled record, just what a riff. Wish they'd play it live more. Another song I was shocked wasn't played on the farewell. Um, and just a great guitar riff, great sloppy song to listen to, and you feel that sleaze like almost like a New York Dolls type thing, but grittier. So basically, that song Too Fast for Love pretty much took their influences and put it all together at that time, and it's very cool to hear that. So that's my number 7, Too Fast for Love.
Okay, very good. And that is something they did play on the stadium tour, believe it or not, for once. So that was
Yeah,
cool
that's
that
right.
they
Yeah,
they
they
added
did. I
that.
know. I was sad I missed that.
But they didn't play on the farewell tour, so yeah, you're definitely 100% right about that one, sadly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's going to take me then down to my number 8, which is a very rare song, such a rare song that many might not even know it. It's called Enslaved. You familiar with
Mm.
it?
Yeah, what's that on? Is that
It's one of the two unreleased tracks that appeared on the Greatest Hits album.
Yeah, yep, no, that absolutely makes sense. Yep.
That and Bitter Pill were the two
Yeah,
songs.
Bitter Pill.
And I
Hmm.
actually thought
I
Bitter,
didn't even really think about Bitter Pill, but that's a great song too.
yeah, and that's what I thought initially was going to be on this list was Bitter Pill. And then all of a sudden I played Enslaved. I go, man, this song is awesome. How did I miss this one? I mean, I knew of it. I remember playing it, but I always thought Bitter Pill was the better song for some reason, but not anymore. I'm Enslaved here at number 8, and I really enjoy that song. It
Well, it's funny
definitely,
you say that too, because those two songs I always looked at as part of Motley's full catalog, because that Greatest Hits album came out in what, 97 or 2000 maybe, but I was just sort of really getting into them, and that was actually like one of the first hard copy Motley releases I believe I got. So, yeah, those two songs are very strong.
yeah, looks like that. Well, you got to remember they do have a lot of different packages out as far as greatest hits go.
No,
This
yeah, but
Yeah, this
we're
one came out
talking
in
about the one.
98. This one came
Yeah,
out in
that's the one
98.
with
Yep.
all four of them out there like drawn, right?
It's got like a goldish
Yeah,
cover.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like drawn on there. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
That's what.
Exactly. You got it. All
Yep.
right.
Mhm.
So that's what my number eight is, and number seven, I'm gonna dig into the debut, "Too Fast for Love." This album, the song "On with the Show" ends the album.
Oh yeah,
Great song. They actually added it to their set list this past year when they did a few dates here and there. So they were playing it finally.
and they played it on the farewell. Either they did, except I think they didn't in Buffalo because Tommy was sick
Yeah, they definitely had to cancel some of the songs because of Lee and
yeah.
that he wasn't sick. He had some
Or
issue.
whatever
Yeah,
tonight or
it
something.
was something, right?
Yeah, it's always something.
Yep, it's always something. You're absolutely right. All right, so that's what I got. On with the Show, just a great ballad that appears on the first album. Always liked this one. It actually is very similar to another song on this out of this band's repertoire here, and but I've always loved this one. On with the Show. It was one of those songs. It's the album closer on the Too Fast for Love. So that's what I got for my number seven.
Cool.
So that's going
All
to take
right.
you, yep, to your
It's gonna
six and
six and
five.
five. So number six for me is sort of a B-side type song that a lot of the casuals at shows probably would sleep during when it came on, but people like me and you would be going nuts, and that's off a shout, and that's Knock 'em Dead Kid. I mean, just chanty and that riff is sort of like disturbing. It's just sort of like a creepy clock tower almost. I feel when that song, like just the way that vibe is of the song. One of my favorite riffs to learn when I was growing up, learning the how to play guitar based on Motley and Kiss and Wasp and Alice Cooper records. So "Knock 'Em Dead Kid" I think is an extremely underlooked song. Have you ever got to see that live, Joe? Because you've seen them definitely more than me.
Yeah.
But Knock 'Em Dead Kid, I doubt they played it in any recent times in the last 20 years or whatever, but what a banger of a song. That's my number six. And then for number five is the massive song Wild Side that I didn't think was going to make the list. But after I really put that up against these, I was like, yeah, that song, I remember now why that's probably my introduction. One of the three introduction songs from Motley for me was Wild Side, as I'm sure it was for a lot of people. And whether regardless of when you grew up. I mean, when you talk about Motley, search out Motley, you hear the first three big songs. Wild Side's always a part of that. So again, just great song, makes you feel like trashing your room when you listen to it, and just always gets the crowd reaction anywhere, whether it's a football game or a concert before a band plays. So Wild Side number five for me.
Okay. Very good. Wild Side, huh? All right. So that is going to take me to my number six, and it's a song that you had already mentioned, but obviously it's a little bit lower on my list. The song that peaked at number 54, and I believe it was the first single off of Shout at the Devil, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to be none other than Looks That Kill.
Mhm.
Well, it looks like Shout at the Devil may have
Shouts
been
the first
first.
shouts. Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that was
the
based
intro.
upon airplay. Yeah, it's weird how you get this based upon airplay notice here. But I remember the first song that I remember hearing was Looks to Kill on the radio from them, at least from our local 97 Rock back in the day when it was they used to do like it came out in January of 84, and then you got to remember um yeah, was it about a year a year later 97 Rock got taken off the air. So they used to do it on like the metal shop with Carl Russo and stuff like that. He used to have songs like that on there, and that's where I first heard it. And then he would play it at night as well on his regular rotation. But that's how I got into him, by hearing him on the radio at that point. So that song has always stuck a nice groove with me. I was kind of surprised that back in like around 2000, like if you ever went to a cruise show between 2000 and maybe 2010, the crowd would be so dead during that song. I just did not understand it because that was always a song that would get you going, get your fist pumping, and it's got that adrenaline in it, and yet the
Yeah,
crowd would be so dead. But at least people woke up from like 2011 and on, and you started seeing, that stadium show was probably the most I've ever seen people get into that song that I can remember.
right.
Um, I don't know why all of a sudden things changed with it, but I think this is one of those songs that just has gotten better over time. And they never really overplayed it or on the radio for it to get to the point of you getting sick of it like they did some of those songs like Home Sweet Home and Dr. Feelgood and garbage like that. So that's a hint right there that you won't find those two songs on my list.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so that's what I got at number six. And number five, same album. Nicky always introduced it in concert uh, as one of his favorites, but they haven't really played it much over the last 20 years, surprisingly. But we're talking Red Fucking Hot.
Yeah.
He always introduced it like that too. And just a great song. I've always loved this song. And in concert, man, I'll tell you, man, that crowd really got going when he introduced it. People would just go nuts. And of course, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But Red Hot, man, number five for me.
Great choices. All right. Well, moving right along here, we got number four and three. And number four from theater, it's extremely underlooked song. Tonight We Need a Lover.
Ah,
I know lyrically it's a little corny and has the ability to be, but love the song in general. I love the vocals. There's a lot of cool stuff hanging out on those records like theater that you don't really expect too much. But when you re-listen, you realize how great it is. And I've always loved this song. Always wish they played it live. I'm sure it hasn't been played live at all unless it was played on that tour. Um, but great song. Definitely worth checking out. Classic riff, classic backbeat, and definitely classic Motley. Number three for me is another one, pretty much exactly how I just described tonight, but Dancing on Glass off of Girls, slithery riff that you don't hear. I'm sure songs like that worked really well in the strip club back in the 80s and 90s. And it just makes you feel like you're on the street and that, again, that glam New York Dolls, David Bowie, T-Rex type of thing, but done in a more aggressive way. So, number four, Tonight We Need a Lover. Number three, Dancing on Glass.
all right. Yeah, I never would have expected that to be on there for you, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool thing with Dancing on Glass, they did pretty much play it at every single gig on the Girls, Girls, Girls tour, so at least you had that. I did
Oh,
see that
cool.
once. Now the Tonight, that one I'm not quite sure. And I agree with you on that song. That was actually one of my honorable mentions at one point, but then it just got bumped off shortly near the end there,
Oh,
unfortunately. But I
cool.
love that song too. It's definitely very underrated. I feel, Theater of Pain is a weird album. Like you mentioned, it's very, it seems like the two songs that really drove that album, were Home Sweet Home
Yeah.
and Smoking in the Boys Room.
Right.
And then for a while there, they wouldn't even play Smoking. So,
Which is weird, Smoking almost made it on my list. I really love that song, their version of that song. I mean, I always have. And then I thought it was a little overplayed and gave it a rest. And then I was like, yeah, why are they not playing this song that much? And yeah,
yeah,
right. Theater definitely was driven by those two. That's a good point, though, is Home Sweet Home and the cover.
yeah, they did do Smoking in the Boys Room as part of a medley during the stadium tour,
Right.
surprisingly. But yeah, well, what can you
I
do?
think I remember seeing them do it on the Kiss tour too in
Oh yeah,
2012.
yeah. They definitely played it a few times, but not that many actually over the last 20 years. So when you did see it in concert, you had to treasure it because usually it was part of a freaking medley like it was during the stadium tour. So it kind of, in a way, kind of ruined it, but maybe that was the only reason why they did it, because
Right.
they got to mix in all the other songs to make it like a medley to give it a little bit of so it wasn't boring for them, maybe. I don't know. But
Right.
they can't play it and sing it this time anymore with the six Mick and Tom in there anymore, since there's
Yeah,
no
right.
more Mick in there. So you ain't gonna be hearing that one probably. All right, so that's what you got there for your four and your three, huh?
Yep. Yes,
All
sir.
right. So my number four is going to go back to Dr. Feelgood album. The highest song that I have on my list, at least as far as charting single is concerned, and that is going to be "Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away," the fourth single released from Feelgood.
There
And
you
I
go.
just felt like seemed like as they went on and releasing singles towards that album at the end, I felt they made better choices. And had they made these songs earlier on, maybe Feel Good would be a diamond album, perhaps. I don't know. It's
Right.
just interesting. I just felt they picked some of the singles that they released off of that album. Yeah, as much as hate to admit it, Feel Good did reach number 6 on the charts, which is, believe it or not, their highest charting single ever. Isn't that hard to believe?
It is. Yes.
Feel Good? Come on.
Yep. It is very hard to believe.
And the next one was actually a song they know they don't really want to own anymore, Without You, number 8. So it's kind of unique that, they got two songs that made the top 10, but nothing else cracked the top 10, sadly.
Wow.
But mine, Don't Go Away Mad at number 19 is probably definitely one of their highest charters. It's definitely one of their best songs. It's one of those ones Vince plays guitar live in concert. And when they're bringing out the guitar for Vince, it's going to be that song more than likely. And
Right.
but yeah, I've always liked that song. I feel it's just a good song, and I just love it still to this day. Even though they've played at every concert since like 1990 whatever, but I'm not sick of them playing it live yet. So that's number four. Number three, I got a ultra rare song, the album closer on Shout at the Devil. And we're talking Danger.
Danger. Yep.
Always loved Danger. And that's the song that's very kind of similar in a way to On with the Show. It's like they're almost cousins or sisters or something because they kind of got the same pattern to them, as in the type of song, like a slow, kind of like building song that tells a story. But I've always loved Danger. I just feel that that might be one of those songs they're afraid to touch after, the whole Razzle thing with the Hanoi Rocks drummer who was in the vehicle with Vince when they got in an accident and the uh, Razzle lost his life, unfortunately. I think that's one of the reasons why they may never touch that one, which I can understand. That's because the way they talks about everything in the song Danger, it's almost like it was a premonition in a way. Very weird.
Right.
Um, but that's what I got with that. Number three, I've got Danger. Just I feel it's a great song regardless of
Yeah.
everything.
No, very good song and one that people probably don't think about much. I mean, it wasn't a hit. It fell at the end of the record. So yeah, it is a good song. And I understand what you're saying with its relation to On with the Show because it does have like it's almost it both those songs almost have ballad like tendencies, but it's not a ballad. It's like a pop song. So I totally see what you're saying with that. It's interesting to look at them that way. It's and this whole storytelling thing. It's both those songs definitely from the same tree for sure.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right. Well,
Moment of truth here. I I can't wait to see what your choices are here.
so this one will probably shock you. This one's a hit, but this one, no matter what, it can start a show, it can end a show, it can be played at a sport game, it could be played at a college party. It doesn't matter. Kickstart My Heart. I feel there was no way I couldn't have it in my top two. Um, everyone who's been watching these things with me doing this with Joe knows that I am not about the hits. I don't put these in here as a way to say, oh, I can't, you have to put that in there. 99% of this list is not hits. Kickstart is a song that I never can get tired of. It's the same thing like
Mhm.
School's Out or the five other Alice songs that are all over. I don't get sick of it just like I want to be. There's so many songs from so many bands that I get sick of, and then all those bands have a couple that could be played to death, and I don't get sick of them. Kickstart My Heart's one of them. Definitely, probably the biggest Motley song on my list as far as like like big favorites would be Kickstart.
Mm.
But like I said, you can start the show with it, you can end the show with it. It has the same kind of, it can start a movie, it can be the end credits of a movie. I mean, it's just this energetic way of either starting something or ending something, or even being in the middle. That song has uh, the same, no matter where you are, you have the same reaction to it. It just gets your blood pumping. So number two, the biggest song in their catalog, probably Kickstart My Heart. And then number one, you had already mentioned, but again, their best song in their catalog by far. Apparently, it's one of Nicki's favorites, but Red Hot is
Oh
the
wow.
answer to the number one Motley song of all time. And it really, if you played that for someone at first, they're not going to imagine that a song like Without You or Home Sweet Home or even On with the Show is a part of that same thing. Red Hot is extremely fast. It almost has like in that time period, I wasn't around for it, but I'm assuming it was almost like, what is this? Like, this is a new style of music. Twisted Sister was doing the same thing. And then a couple years later, Metallica and all these thrash bands sort of came right out of that. But I feel a song like Red Hot is at the very beginning of like the thrash movement in a way, which you never would consider Motley a thrash band, and you still never would even now. But Red Hot is definitely sort of like, where's this band gonna go? And then the rest of the record has a variety of heavier styles, and then you got the slower ballads. So I think Red Hot is the perfect song for Motley because it's their most aggressive and definitely my favorite by a landslide. Unfortunately, I never got to see it live. They have played it. Actually, I think I did they played it on the Carnival tour, right? On the reunion. I believe they did. They definitely did. But yeah, Red Hot, absolutely my number one, and hope to get to see him play it again soon if it happens. I'm surprised John 5 hasn't pushed hard for that one yet.
Yeah, actually, it was played a lot throughout their tours. It's the 13th most played song in the Crüe catalog. The last time they played it though was 2013 when they did a Vegas residency, and then from there, 2008, 2006. So I think you're right. I think they did play it in
Yeah.
2005. Yep, there it is.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
And that's when they got back together, actually.
Yeah, that was the only time I seen that one played live for sure.
Yeah, so definitely. Yeah, definitely a great song. I can't argue with that one there because I had it on my list as at number five. So we think great minds think alike sometimes.
That's right.
And just like my final two here. So my number two is one that made your list, although not nowhere near as high as this one. This song reached number 90 on the charts. It was a single. It got a lot of airplay after the first two songs, Shout at the Devil and Looks a Kill. And it's none other than Too Young to Fall in Love. Just
There you
always
go.
loved this song and feel that this is definitely one of those songs that should have been played a lot more than what it was live over the last 20 or so years. I just feel that these guys really just kind of dropped the ball here for sure on this one when on the you know they did play it on the farewell tour, but now that was in 2015, the farewell tour, right?
Yeah, 15, correct. Yep.
Yeah. But they didn't play it at a lot of venues. They kind of just played it at select venues on that tour. So that's what you got for that one. But it hasn't been played since that tour. So that goes to show you, of course they only had the stadium tour after that, and then they had whatever they did last year and this year they haven't done anything yet. But yeah, so Too Young to Fall in Love is what I got at number two. And number one, still in the set list today from the debut, the old stalwart, none other than Livewire. Turn me in, I'm alive tonight. Oh, just a great song. Never gotten sick of this one. Um, love the when it comes into the bridge when Vince takes it over there. Just a great song. They really don't have many songs that feature something like that. They got the
Right.
chorus moves along, and then all of a sudden they get that bridge in there, and it's like you don't really ever hear too many of their songs with that type anymore. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm sure they got a couple, but the way they recorded this song was simply just marvelous. Just a great song, and still, and it probably I would say 10 years ago, this probably would be barely making somewhere in my top 10, but I just for some weird reason over the course of time, it's just grown to become my favorite. So that's what I got, Live Wire, to round out our top 10 list of Motley Crue tunes.
Well, that's what's interesting about a band like Motley with such a distinctive catalog and such a varied catalog too, actually, that any of these songs could fall anywhere depending on the day, right? I mean, like my number 10, this is probably the first time this happened with our list too. My number 10 is your number one. I feel like if we would have did this in 6 months, it could have been, opposite. So, very cool to do an album or a list of albums that have these many good songs on them.
Yeah, definitely. This one wasn't easy because there's a bunch of songs, that I thought were gonna make it that just not did ended up not making it, unfortunately. It just you can't have them all on here, unfortunately. But there's definitely I would say probably a good handful of songs that I thought would make the list, and you just run out of space after a time when you can only pick 13 altogether.
Right.
So that's what we got for ours.
Very
Agree to
cool.
disagree. Let us know if we're wrong. Give us some of the songs that you might like that for whatever reason we didn't get on here. Um, I know Home Sweet Home, probably one of their biggest and most known songs, wasn't on the list here on either one of ours.
No, but it got
Uh,
mentioned a couple times at
yeah,
least.
but I like it. I'm not sick of it, but it's definitely
Oh, I am.
Feel Good I'm sick of. I just can't stand that song. I never was a real big Dr. Feelgood fan of the song. Obviously, I love the album. Couple tracks just to give you a rough She Goes Down was always one of my favorites. I thought that
Yeah,
would have made my
great song.
list. That was definitely one of them. I liked the song New Tattoo from New Tattoo as well. Hell on High Heels was always an interesting song. There's a bunch of Animal and Me from Saints of Los Angeles. I've always
Yeah,
liked
good one.
one of the slower songs on the album, and I thought Vince sounds really good on that one. That's definitely one of my favorite songs off that album. So I mean, there was a tough choice really to come down and narrow it
You know
down.
what you know what I'm surprised didn't make your list is If I Die Tomorrow, which almost made mine. Because I
Yeah,
like that song. I always thought you liked that song, but maybe it's somebody else. But I thought that was one of your songs. But maybe
no, they made a few few songs that didn't make New Tattoo that I've always liked. American Band, I think it was called. It's like a real hard to find B-side. Oh, American Zero. That's what it
yeah, American
was.
Zero. I've heard of
American
that song
Zero.
before.
Yep. That was what it was. But yeah, there's a lot of good songs out there that, we could have mentioned, and
I mean, there's good
unfortunately,
songs on Generation Swine. There's good songs on
yeah,
pretty much every record.
Afraid. Another great song that we
Yeah,
failed to
Afraid is a
mention.
great song.
I
I
like
thought,
Glitter. I just don't like all the touch-up work they did on it. It sounds like there's a lot of electronic drums and stupid stuff on it.
yeah, what's that real fast one on Generation Swine? I
The
think they
title
used
track,
the title
that's a
track. Yeah,
fast
right.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great song.
I don't really like Find Myself, but it's okay, but no,
They
not no,
opened that tour with that song, if I'm not mistaken.
possibly.
Watch the videos, it's weird. But yeah, they open with that song and then they go right in after that they go
Yeah.
into like Girls or something. But
Then another couple songs I can mention real quick is all in the Name of off of
yeah.
Girls, Girls, Girls. That was always I saw them open with that on that tour, so that was pretty
Oh,
cool to
cool.
see. Um, City Boy Blues is a kind of it doesn't really get the love that it deserves.
What's that on Feel
City
Good?
Boy Blues was the opening track from Theater of
Oh
Pain.
yeah, theater. Right, 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 right.
But there's another song that I really liked on Theater of Pain that didn't really. Louder Than Hell. Obviously, that's one they play a lot. They actually played it on the farewell tour. Shockingly, I was shocked that they
Yeah,
played
that's
that
right.
one.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that song. It's another good song I like off that album. I think the second part of that album was, other than Tonight We Need a Lover, pretty much every song after that was kind of weak in my opinion. I
I
thought that
agree.
that album was just not. It had so much promise, but it just wasn't quite that great. And then I thought Girls, 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 I thought they took a step back. You put a cover song on there, Jailhouse Rock. I don't know. You didn't need to do that. It would have been nice to see. And you got that dumb Nona song. They
Yeah.
did a lot of stupid things where Girls, 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 the song was definitely a decent song. I would say it probably make my top 20, if we had to
Well,
stretch it out.
let's not forget that Motley's career before the reunion was them either on drugs or them getting clean off of drugs or
Mm,
them being off of drugs. So I
yeah,
think you have like all different kinds, and that's where like the weird stuff comes in, and like when the Brandon song later on and all that. I mean, it's really depending on where they are in their lives because they were such a party band. So I think that's why you see some weird stuff on those records. Some of those songs you mentioned are decent. But yeah, it does get weird. At the end, a couple of these records, there's like a 4 or 5 strong stretch on some of them where it's not so great,
Bad
you
Boy
know.
Boogie, another weak track from Girls,
Yeah.
Girls, Girls. I mean, and people might wonder if you look at I know you didn't do it with me. I had somebody else do the Motley Crue album ranking,
Hmm.
and they're wondering why these albums are so poorly ranked. Well, it's the quality of the material. It just isn't that good.
Yeah.
That's why Shout at the Devil for me was my number one. Every song on there pretty much, with the exception of God Bless the Children of the Beast, which is more like a interlude type song that kind of, but other than that, that album is just great. In the first album, every song just smokes on that one too. But by the time they get to, the CD age kind of hurt. They were trying to jam in as many songs on Feel Good as they could. I think if they cut off maybe 2 tracks on Feel Good, take out the two weakest ones, that album would be even better.
Well, I don't know about you, but when I rank a catalog, especially from a band that has a lot of records, like when we did Bon Jovi, and if I was to do Motley Crue, um, the best thing to do when there's a series of albums that start getting like, oh, there's only like 4 or 5 good songs. The way I do it is I just pick out all the great songs and the good songs and the songs I like, and then you sort of go, well, this one has more than this, and that's one of the multiple criteria
Right,
that I
right.
use to write the list because a lot of these bands that have been releasing albums since 82, 83, 84, whatever, either or before or after, and there's so many records, that's really the only way to do it because the songs speak for themselves at the end of the day. Yep.
And we want to remind everybody, if you get a chance, please subscribe. Please, like our YouTube channel. We'd appreciate that. And we got many more things to come, including a lot more album rankings where we do from the bottom up. I started that new series, and we've got probably about 10 albums now. We've got ranked. We take an album, for instance, The Who's Next. We just take all the songs on the album, and we just give them to you from the bottom up, worst to
Yeah.
best, and
Awesome.
that's,
And if
yep.
anybody has any, ideas for Joe, send them to Joe's way that you think might be cool lists or cool way to talk about our likes and opinions on music. If you come up with anything else, but we're trying to come up with some new stuff to be able to do for you guys that will keep you entertained and get our opinions out there. And we love that you guys are I love seeing all the stuff that you guys bring to it. And hopefully we get more comments and stuff and we can interact more. So,
And the main thing you got to realize is don't be afraid to post your lists because you know, these are just our opinions. There's no right or wrong answer here. We're just giving you our take on things. A lot of times me and Chris, we agree on a lot, but then there's a few moments where we don't. And it's going to be the same for you guys out there. Don't hesitate to post your lists. We're not here to criticize anybody. All we're here to do is just, see what you might say. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, I learned a lot from you, for instance, with Cooper. I know all the singles and everything and the songs that get played on the radio. But some of the songs you mentioned me to listen to, man, you've turned me on to a whole new a lot
It's good
more
to
songs
hear.
that I never would have known, so it's just
I didn't
great.
know that. That's nice to hear. Well, and I think that's what's important about this show. For those people, if I didn't, me and Joe have been friends for a long time. We met at a Bret Michaels show. That's the whole story might come at a later date. But um, if I didn't have that, being a music fan then and a metal fan and a rock fan then, I didn't have anybody my age to talk to about this shit. Once Joe started coming along, I was able to go to shows, and all we talked about was music, and we learned a lot from each other. So those people sitting at home that don't have friends in their age range to talk to about this stuff, use this as a way to get your opinion out there and talk. And who knows, in the future, maybe, we can have a guest come on one of these things and whatever.
Mhm.
Just put your voice out there, like what you like. Do not, under any circumstance, think that it's better to put stuff out there that people want to hear. We want to hear the true opinions. We like giving our true opinions. We're not going to say we like something we don't just because other people are going to give a shit. And you really won't have to worry about that here with us. We respect everyone's opinions. So, if you don't have anybody to balance ideas off of and stuff with music, love, you do it here.
And that's something, we didn't have this luxury back, when we first met and stuff like this. There, really YouTube wasn't even, I don't even know if it was out at that point, but you
Not
know,
early on,
come a
no.
long way, and this is good because you can sit at your house and have some tunes cranking in the background and listen to what me and Chris are saying. See what you think of some of these songs. That's it's good when people have a similar opinion, and or even if you don't, say if we missed the mark because we didn't add on certain songs. Hey, we're big boys, we can handle it. And
Yeah.
that's what it's all about, though. We're about here to hopefully turn people on to music maybe that they don't know about, or or validate maybe what you think about certain songs. And we try to give you a little bit of stories behind things, like I did, for instance, with Flush. I interviewed John Corabi. um that interview was great. I got to pick his brain and talk to him about a lot of different things. And that's why I kind of went in a lot of detail about that Flush thing, because it was interesting, even from his perspective, that he didn't even know that the song he was getting a writing credit on it. So that was pretty cool. You learn something new every day, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to sign off here and stay tuned for another solid ranking coming up sometime in the very, very near future. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, please.
Sounds good.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.